My dad blamed my baby sister for our mom's death. I was 15 when mom died giving birth to Katie. The doctors said it was a rare complication, something about her blood pressure spiking during delivery. Dad held mom's hand as she slipped away, then looked at this tiny crying baby and said, "This is your fault." I'll never forget those words. Katie was still covered in blood, barely breathing, and Dad was already blaming her for something she had no control over. The first few months were hell. Dad couldn't even look at Katie without his face twisting up in disgust. He'd leave the room when she cried, refused to help with feedings or diaper changes. I was a sophomore in high school learning to mix formula at midnight. When Katie was 6 months old, I found Dad's journal. He'd been writing letters to Mom, telling her how much he hated the thing that took you away from me. He called Katie it, never used her name. That's when I realized Dad wasn't just grieving. He genuinely believed Katie was some kind of murderer, a 6-month-old baby who giggled when I made funny faces. The breaking point came when Katie was 2. She was playing with blocks in the living room when Dad's friend Mike came over. Katie toddled up to Dad with her arms raised, wanting to be picked up like any normal toddler would. Dad physically recoiled, actually stepped backward like she was diseased. Mike looked confused and asked, "Isn't that your daughter?" Dad just stared at the wall and said, "I only had one child. She died with my wife." Katie's face crumpled. She was too young to understand the words, but she felt the rejection. I scooped her up and took her to my room, where she sobbed into my shoulder for an hour. That night, I made a decision that changed everything. I started recording Dad's behavior on my phone, the way he ignored Katie at dinner, how he'd change the channel if she was watching cartoons, the cruel comments he'd make when he thought she couldn't hear. I collected evidence for 3 months. Then I showed the videos to my school counselor, Mrs. Chen. She watched Dad tell 2-year-old Katie to stop breathing so loud and immediately called Child Protective Services. The social worker, Ms. Rodriguez, came to our house the next week. She interviewed all of us separately. When she talked to Katie, my baby sister kept pointing at Dad and saying "scary man" over and over. Dad tried to play the grieving widower card, but Ms. Rodriguez had seen my videos. She'd also noticed that Katie flinched whenever Dad walked into a room. Here's the part that still gives me chills. During the investigation, we found out Dad had been telling people at work that Katie died during childbirth along with Mom. He'd been living a double life, pretending to be childless while collecting sympathy for losing his only daughter. His co-workers were shocked when Ms. Rodriguez contacted them. They'd been bringing him casseroles and offering condolences for 2 years, thinking he'd lost his entire family. Dad got supervised visitation rights, which he never used. Not once. Katie and I went to live with our Aunt Sarah, who actually wanted both of us. Last month, Katie turned 18. We were going through old photos when she found one of Mom holding her as a newborn. Katie stared at it for a long time, then said, "I'm glad the scary man isn't my real dad anymore." Turns out Aunt Sarah had been trying to adopt Katie since she was 3, but Dad kept blocking it out of spite. The day Katie turned 18, she legally changed her last name to match Aunt Sarah's. Dad still sends birthday cards addressed to Katie. The mistake. We throw them away without opening them. Katie doesn't even remember what his voice sounds like anymore. Sometimes the family that chooses you is stronger than the one that rejects you.